Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm Jack Hagel. Before last week, State Auditor Beth Wood wasn't often in the headlines, but then news of a hit-and-run charge against her came to light. Lots of questions remain about that crash, and you can find her reporting at WRAL.com. Some of the biggest questions for people who don't follow state government are simply, who is Beth Wood, and what does a state auditor do? Well, WRAL state government reporter Paul Specht is here to tell us. Paul, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Last week, we had an episode about the crash, and for those who didn't catch that, you can go check that out at the WRAL Daily Download feed. But for those who didn't hear that episode, Paul, tell us what happened.
So the accident happened on December 8th, and if you haven't seen it, you should go look at the pictures because my words will not do them justice. But Beth Wood's government vehicle was found on top of a parked car on Salisbury Street, and that is in downtown Raleigh. And when I say on top of, I mean her front right passenger tire was on the hood of a parked car and running when police found it. Beth Wood was not there. She was charged with a hit and run 4 days later. So that obviously leaves us with lots of questions. Where was she going? Where was she coming from? Why wasn't she with the car? She did put out a statement saying she apologized for her actions and sort of acknowledging that she was involved that night, but she didn't release a lot of details. So obviously here at WRAL, we've been putting a lot of reporters on this to try to track down, okay, what happened with this car? Where is Wood now? Have her powers been taken away in any capacity? And since that night, or since she released that statement, rather, she's sort of been quiet. We're still looking for a lot of these answers.
That's right. In that statement last week, she said she was coming from a holiday party. She acknowledged leaving the scene. She said she was shaken, and she also took personal responsibility. Now, this is the kind of thing that might torpedo a political career, but Wood vows to stay in this job, and it seems like there are a lot of powerful officials, including some from her opposing party, that are taking a wait-and-see approach. Why do you think that is?
Right. Well, she's been doing it for 14 years. Wood was first elected back in 2008, and a lot of people say that she's done a good job, and that includes Republicans. And we should say she has done this for 14 years, and nothing like this has ever come up. We're not aware of any other, major traffic citations or anything that would qualify as a scandal. She is known for taking on people on both sides of the political aisle. I know that a few years ago, she told Agriculture Commissioner Steve Troxler that his inspectors weren't doing enough to hold milk plants accountable for some small violations there that, if I remember correctly, were coming up repeatedly. Now, he disagreed with that, and they made their disagreements public. She's also gone public with her. A lot of things that she does are public. But she, as recently as I believe 2021, took issue with how the governor was replacing people on a sort of an obscure government board. So all that to say, she's earned respect by just calling things like she sees them, and she applies that to both sides of the aisle. Now, this accident is only a misdemeanor, and some people say they expect her to remain in the job. I know she said that, but you never know if that'll stick, if people are going to call for her to be removed. Outside of the North Carolina Republican Party, we haven't seen hardly anyone else calling for her to step down.
So let's talk about her legacy a little bit more. First, what is a state auditor, and how has Wood done in that job? You alluded to some of her previous cases.
Right. So the state auditor, they can look at two things. And auditors are known for two things: financial audits and then performance audits. And they track money to make sure that it's going to all the right places. And then sometimes they look at the, for lack of a better word, corporate structure of agencies. She's looked at the structure of the Department of Transportation and found that they were wasting upwards of $700 million because they were under budgeting for these years and they were having to spend extra. She's looked at municipalities like Rocky Mount and Spring Lake and found where money was going where it shouldn't. So she has this track record of finding government waste. And when those reports come out, they are public. People can go read them. And man, if you're a politician, there's really not many positions like this in government or politics where you can go after waste, you can file a report, and you can publicize it, and you get the credit directly. And that's what she's been doing for 14 years.
So that answer sort of begs the question, are these comments from other state officials coming from a place of respect or a place of fear?
That's hard to say. I can imagine that some people might offer a more muted response because, she does have lots of power. The state law gives her the power to investigate, any state agency, state and North Carolina municipalities, the schools, the higher ed system, at least the state colleges and universities. So, people can theorize and say, oh, well, she knows where the bodies are buried. And you know what? To some degree, that might be true. But a lot of people respect her because she's gone after both sides, and you never know what the next person will bring. We interviewed someone who's familiar with a lot of auditors across the country in each state. Some are elected, some are appointed. And he says, you are much better off as a taxpayer if you are able to elect your auditor because you can hold them accountable. And so I think a lot of people expect maybe the voters will be the ones to hold Beth Wood accountable in the next election should she decide to run again.
Well, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll hear about what State Auditor Beth Wood's friends have to say. Stick around. Welcome back to the WRAL Daily Download. We're talking with WRAL State Government reporter Paul Specht about State Auditor Beth Wood. Paul, tell us about how Wood got to this place. What's her background?
Right. She grew up on a farm, we're told. She went to ECU, that's East Carolina University, out in Greenville, and is a CPA. And, that's a certified public accountant, and they have high standards for ethics when it comes to audits, when it comes to just doing their daily jobs. And before 2008, she, to my knowledge, did not run for any political office. And so that makes her a little unique in state government because, Dale Falwell, he's the state treasurer. He was a legislator before that. The labor commissioner, same deal, Josh Dobson. Some of these people in the Council of State, they have political careers before they run for these bigger statewide, these bigger seats that are elected by voters statewide. So, you can go look and see, what does Dale Falwell think about legislation back in the day? You can go and see what did Josh Dobson have to say about this or that. Beth Wood is more of a mystery. She is a Democrat, so you can, people make assumptions based on that, but we don't know a lot of her personal opinions because she doesn't have a prior political career.
Now, you were able to uncover some of that mystery in your reporting. You talked with a number of her associates and friends. Tell us what you learned about Beth Wood as a person, and also what are their reactions to all this?
People were surprised. One word that kept coming up was professional, that Beth Wood is the consummate professional who treats people fairly. I spoke to former Labor Commissioner Cherie Berry, and she's now in another state. She hadn't heard the news, and she only had good things to say. She said when she dealt with Beth Wood, Wood would come in and talk to Berry about grants, federal grants that the Labor Department had received, and Wood had suggestions for how those should be distributed fairly and in accordance with the mandates of the grant. Lots of grants come with strings attached. They're supposed to go to one thing and not another. They have these conditions. And she said, Berry said, that is, they always took the recommendations because they were common sense, and that Wood's very thorough and that they were friends. In fact, she called Berry, a Republican, called Beth Wood, a Democrat, the best state auditor this state has ever had.
You also talk with some of her friends, people who know her in her social life. What did you learn?
Right. We got some details just about what she likes to do for fun, and that includes dancing. There's a real estate agent we quote in our story who talks about the first time she ever encountered Wood was at some sort of fundraiser. She doesn't remember the exact date, but she remembers seeing Wood and her husband get up and go on the floor and do a ballroom dance like they knew it, like it was, on the back of their hand. And she said it was wild. She's like, wow, who is that woman? And if you have never looked at a picture of Beth Wood, she's also, pretty distinguishable. You can pick her out of a crowd. She has bright blonde hair. She has red lipstick. She often wears heels, and she's tall and thin, and she stands out. And so her friend said, you know what? People may make judgments about women who are flashy and things like that. She said, don't make judgments about Beth Wood. This real estate agent said she's known her for years. She's honest. She's reputable. She's fun. I asked her, a lot of people are making assumptions about what happened that night. I asked this real estate agent who's known her for a while, does Wood have any issues that haven't come up? Any personal issues, any social issues that maybe people should know about that they don't know about? She said no. She thinks people are leaping to conclusions that they shouldn't. She's seen that video. She says, Beth is the type of person who, if people tell her the best thing to do, is to take a step back for a minute, that's something that she would do. She tries to do the right thing all the time. And so that's the impression that I was left with in speaking to people who worked with her in a professional capacity, and people like this real estate agent who, has gone to the beach with her, and, who says that Beth Wood's the person who always has food. There's no, you don't have to go hungry there. She's always taking care of everything. She's that type of person.
So what does Wood have to say about all this? I know that she issued that statement last week.
We did reach out like we do with every story. And in this case, we said, hey, we have your statement, but we're writing more about Wood as a person and her career. And what does she want to be known for? And they said, still, we don't want to participate. So they had that option to tell us more, to tell us what they think her legacy is. And she does have, 14 years in state government, one of only 4 Democrats to win statewide and Council of State elections. People will remember her. She has a long list of accomplishments here. We did our best to sort of summarize those in the story, but we did have to do it without any direction from Wood's team.
So what happens next?
Well, here's what we know. She's still working. She's not stepping down. There is an ongoing investigation into this incident. We know that her ability to drive state-owned cars has been taken away, has been suspended. We reported that. And her next court date is March 23rd. So we'll sit back and just sort of see. We don't know if anyone else will come up through the woodwork and say, make demands about her resigning. I would think that would have happened by now. So we, WRAL, will keep digging in to see what happened and calling everyone we know that may have been involved. And in the meantime, we'll just wait and see what happens with this court case.
Well, I know you and the rest of our team are going to be all over it. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
WRAL state government reporter Paul Specht. For his article on Beth Wood and for all of our coverage on the Beth Wood case, visit the NC Capital section of WRAL.com. I'm Jack Hagel. Thanks for joining us today, and thanks for listening to the WRAL Daily Download and for making us part of your morning routine. Another great way to get WRAL news is the Morning Briefing newsletter. It's a daily email with Triangle news, events, and headlines to help you get ready for the day. Sign up at WRAL.com/newsletter.